Welcome to the deep dive. Sometimes you're starting seeds, maybe some cuttings, and you spot a bit of, well, fungus.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
And today we're diving into what that might actually mean. We've got some really interesting personal gardening notes from someone keen to understand this.
Right. Digging into the details.
Exactly. So our mission is, what does that fungus really signal about the conditions? Because it might not be what you expect.
Absolutely. It's often seen as a bad sign, right? Fungus, alarm bells.
Totally.
But these notes, they kind of suggest that sometimes, just sometimes, it can be
Well,
a good thing.
okay, let's get into it. So the gardener, they tracked their propagation efforts pretty closely, found two specific spots that seemed just right. What made them ideal?
Well, the notes point to a few key things.
Mm-hmm.
Indirect sunlight, really important, and good airflow, plus ventilation. These create a stable little microclimate, a small environment just for those young plants.
Right, not too harsh, not too stagnant. Makes sense.
Exactly. Direct sun can scorch them, and still air. Well, that leads to other issues.
Okay, so ideal spots. And then the fungus showed up. Now, we usually connect fungus with dampness, don't we?
We do, and that's precisely what the gardener noted. This fungal growth seemed to be a clear sign of excess moisture, dampness in those specific areas.
So from watering or maybe rain?
Yeah, either way.
Uh-huh.
But here's the twist. The dampness actually confirmed the environment had the moisture needed for seeds to germinate.
Wow, okay. So the thing we often worry about is actually beneficial in this case.
It seems so, based on these notes.
Is there evidence for that? Did the plants actually do well?
Yes, that's the key part. The gardener scattered some chili seeds in these damp fungal spots and recorded really high germination rates.
High rates, okay.
Which really backs up the idea, doesn't it? The conditions that brought the fungus were also perfect for the seeds.
That's fascinating. And it wasn't just any old fungus, was it? They managed to ID it.
They did. It was identified as Mycena Haematopus. Common names are bleeding fairy helmet or bleeding mycena.
Bleeding fairy helmet. Sounds dramatic. What does it look like?
Quite distinctive,
Yeah.
apparently. The notes describe this reddish-brown cap, usually darker in the middle,
Okay.
and a long, thin stem. The bleeding part comes from a red liquid.
Mm-hmm.
It oozes if it's, like, broken or damaged.
Huh. Interesting. So let's connect the dots. Why does this specific fungus, this Mycena haematopus, popping up mean good things for seeds?
Well, think about what a seed needs right at the start. Moisture is absolutely critical.
Yeah, gotta have water to kick things off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It triggers the whole germination process. So when you see Mycena haematopus, which loves damp spots, it's basically like a little flag saying, hey, it's nice and moist over here.
Ah, okay. So it's an indicator species, in a way.
Precisely. It's signaling the exact condition those seeds are looking for to get started.
That makes so much sense because, honestly, my first reaction, and probably yours too, listener, when you see fungus is problem.
It's a totally natural reaction.
Yeah.
And look, in many cases, loads of fungus can be bad news for plants. Diseases, rot.
Oh.
But the context here is key. Starting seeds, cuttings. In that situation, this specific fungus seems to be more of an environmental signpost.
Not necessarily a threat itself.
Less of a threat, more of an indicator that moisture levels are likely spot on for those delicate new beginnings.
Okay, so let's recap the main takeaway. If you spot Mycena haematopus, this bleeding fairy helmet, in your seed starting area, assuming it's got that indirect light and good airflow we mentioned, it's maybe not panic time. It could actually mean you've nailed that crucial moisture level needed for good germination.
Exactly. It's about reading the signs in your specific setup. What's the fungus? What are the overall conditions?
It really shows how a tiny detail can tell a bigger story, doesn't it? About getting that environment just right.
Absolutely. Observation is key in gardening.
Definitely. It makes you think. What other little signs are out there in your garden? Things you might be overlooking that are actually whispering clues about how your plants are really doing. Something to keep an eye out for, maybe. Thanks for exploring this with me.